6.1 Notational Analysis by Aaron Sparrowhawk. First off, what is notational analysis? Hughes in 2004 said that notational analysis is an objective way of recording performance so that key elements of that performance can be quantified in a valid and consistent manner. In professional sports, notational analysis is the study of movement patterns, strategies and tactics in team sports. Patterns that emerge and can be used in other matches, and that way we can find ways to improve team skills and performance. The process of notational analysis is performed in the following way. Starts off at performance. The performer participates in their sport, whether it be individual or team. Observation, the coach or the analyst will watch the performer participate in their chosen sport. The analysis will be the coach or the coaches or the analyst provide statistics from the performance. That can be from a live perspective or from a video and playing it back and reviewing. And then it becomes interpretation, where the coach or analyst then interpret the data into a presentation or report for the performer to read. And then planning will be from the collected data. The coach or performer then plans how they will work on their weaknesses and try to improve their performance in general. And then obviously preparation will be executing the plans that have already made to correct the mistakes or weaknesses that is happening currently in their performance. And then it'll go back to performance, and they do this again and again repetitively. It goes in a circular motion. We're doing basketball specifically. This is the performance criteria, and it is essentially what you can analyze in basketball. Definition of performance criteria is performance criteria are evaluative statements which specify what is to be assessed and the required level of performance. However, performance criteria can vary in the sport. For example, distance covered will be totally different from a point guard in basketball to a goalkeeper in football. It can change depending on the sport and the role that a certain player has in that sport or in that team. Chosen criteria: blocks, defensive rebound, offensive rebounds, steals, blocks, assists, layups, turnovers, layups made and attempted, 2-pointers attempted and made, 3-pointers attempted and made. The highlighted ones in red are the ones that we'll be looking at in more depth later on, as we are specifically looking at a power forward in basketball. So blocks, the action of stopping the opponent's shot whilst making significant contact with the ball. 2 points, shots taken, made inside the 3-point line, and obviously 3 points, shots taken and made outside the 3-point line. Turnover, the other team gaining possession of an action that the player did, for example, stepping out of bounds or simply passing it to the other team. An assist, passing the ball to a teammate who scores off of that within 2 dribbles or steps. Layups, which is technically the shots that are taken while the player is in his stride and taking steps. Steals, taking the ball away from the opponents. Obviously when you're marking them on defense, taking the ball away from them while they're dribbling will be a steal. And obviously offensive rebounds, rebounding when you're on the attack or on offense rather. And defensive rebounds is rebounding the ball when you're on defense. And obviously the highlighted ones again are specifically key for the power forward position, which is what we'll be looking at later on in detail. Equipment needed for the notational analysis that I did: pen, a paper, pre-made tables already been made with the chosen criteria already on it and laid out, and full view of the core or players. You need to see the whole, you need a good view to see every single thing that happens while you're taking notational analysis. Other materials that can be used: computer can be used instead of obviously doing it by hand. Movement graphs and GPS tracking on players can be used as well. They usually do this to track the player's movement, and obviously with that is almost a heat map, almost some people tend to call that, almost tracking where they're going, what directions they're moving, and where they're in the correct place or if they're not in the correct place. So, Advantage and disadvantage of notational analysis. Advantages is knowledge of criteria. Notational analysis focuses on the entire statistical spectrum and isn't simply one statistic. This is an advantage because an example is if in place a player could score 40 points and would get all the credit, and someone who has 10 assists and 10 rebounds wouldn't receive much praise because nobody really notices that. Nobody really sees every single statistic. They rarely see that. So it does show players' efforts, and you can almost share the credit if a player is being unnoticed for some statistics. Another advantage is comparison. Using notational analysis, you can almost compare performers against each other to see what their weaknesses and strengths are. Many coaches do this almost, not definitely, but to kind of make a split decision between two players. The weaknesses, the knowledge of the individual performing the notational analysis could be a potential disadvantages, as if they don't have significant knowledge of the sport, they won't be able to see every single statistic of what's happening, as they don't have enough knowledge to realise when it's happening. And finally, context. The context of the skill being performed can also be a disadvantage, as it can draw unreliable results. For example, if one player shoots 100% from the free throw line and another player shoots 75%, then many would think the first player is better, but actually maybe the second player shot 8, whereas the first player shot 1. And those are the two players that we'll be comparing later on for the power forward role. All of their statistics are put in a table there. Aaron, Charlie.